Alright, here's the texture that you had sent me. It's because of its odd line work, it's actually quite difficult. Definitely not an easy system to do. As you see, many of the lines will not just carry all the way across. Some do, but not all of them, especially when you get into the wavy lines like right here. So on this particular one, what I've done is created the 1 foot square, which is of course way too big, or way too small. So I'm going to duplicate this and scale it down. So it's getting roughly about that 1 foot size that I want. A bit smaller still. This is one of the somewhat crucial because it helps you decide how much of the texture that you need. Alright, so that's a tiny little texture now. So let's zoom this in. I'm going to go ahead and crop some of this out, just to give me a little bit more to work with. Alright, now, once you've gotten this, you want to figure out where your line work works, where your square is, basically. I'm not really trying to get it a perfect 512 or anything like that. Of course, at this point, you can also just take it over, and as you can see here, I've already dragged over the information. Here's what you have. So I'm just going to take this information and drag it over just so I'm on your 512 surface there. I will get rid of this one. It's not necessary. So one of the hardest parts on this one is going to be finding the exact spot where you'll get the information of the tiling of the textures as well as the interest of the pattern that you have. So trying to find where that spot is on this is somewhat difficult, but let me see. I'm going to choose right there. So you have some of the odd-shaped bricks, and I'm kind of basing it off of areas. Now I'm going to have to fix some of the line work here. That's not going to match up from here to there. But what I can do is, since this does not need to be perfect, yeah, yours is really small. I don't know how big the bricks were originally, so I might be making them a bit large. So I'm going to scale it down a little bit. Okay, so now the smallest bricks are a foot across, a little bit smaller. So these are pretty big stones. This one right here I'm going to judge as an average brick. I could be wrong, but I'm somewhat arbitrarily choosing at this particular point. So I'm going to try and choose an area that I think I can make this work. And that is not necessarily an easy thing to do in this very rough-hewn process. So I'm thinking I need to hide what you have there to make sure I can. I shrunk it too small. Everything has to fit on the screen, so let's try this. Alright, so we're getting a lot of straight lines here. It's messed up a little bit at the bottom here. And I think I'm going to leave it there. Pull this in a little bit. We're not looking at having to keep things perfect. Remember, it is our discretion at where things go. This and this will create a pattern, a very recognizable pattern between the two, so I'm most likely going to cut one out in the future. I'm going to select what I've chosen and jump it up. That's a Control J, so it's just the single texture now. I can offset this one correctly. Now what you're going to have problems when you offset this is this area right here and a few of the other areas. So let me see. This won't carry across. That one will mostly carry across. That one won't. But you really have to go and test it bit by bit. This one doesn't matter because it actually scales out, and this one is going to be a problem where it goes from 2 to 1, but if I put grout here, it won't really matter because it'll still match up. Or I can cut it off here. So then that one is going to be a definite problem. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and fix some of this part right here. I'm going to select part of it, not the whole thing, and go ahead and increase that. I'm going to hit F so I can zoom in a bit here and work at this bottom corner. I'm going to transform this particular piece just by dragging this corner here down. As you can see, I'm holding Control. It may be Alt on a Mac. on a PC because I'm working with a Mac. But I'm just pulling this down so it will match up my lines. There we go. A little bit higher. Doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to kind of get in the ballpark. So now I'm going to move this out of my way. Now, of course, this rock is completely wrong. It doesn't fit in there, but I can always just go in and make this rock a tiny bit bigger in order to make it match. So I'm going to Control, increase the size of that, move it above the other layer, and just stretch it down some. Once again, I'm not too worried about absolute perfection right now. I'm worried about getting it mostly there. I think I did it a little bit too far. So I'll just scoot it back. I'm eyeballing left to right. And there. So that covers that little bit of a gap. And then what I can do is just choose to erase out a bit, or in this particular case I think I'm going to use the stamp tool. Let me choose a brush. I do not have any normal brushes. Okay, so we'll choose this one. And right now I'm just going to do a little bit of touch right there. I'm not looking for a lot, just, well, just a little bit. Okay, so yeah, this is definitely going to have problems across there where you've seen the information kind of pull out incorrectly. I'm going to take this and do a little bit of erasing around there. I'm going to erase a bit around here. And yeah, it messes things up a little bit, but that's okay because we'll fix it in post, so to speak. And this is where I can actually start grabbing some grout from other rocks or similar pieces. I'm going to choose this one right here. And you'll notice I'm doing all of this before even doing my copy and paste, my UV offsets. Mostly because I need to get those lines as straight as possible for this to work. Once again, it doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, just needs to get the idea across. So I'm going to stretch this out so it matches. Alright. Put on my mask, switch out my brush, turn it to black, and start erasing little bits. Let's see how far down I need that to go. You saw there for a brief moment it almost all worked together. So I'm really looking at how much do I need to change. Erase everything for right now. Okay. That was a bad decision. I'm going to go back and do it a different way. I'm going to actually go and fix this piece. Select that and copy. Take this, and I'm going to just alter it this way so it's actually getting bigger. You can do that by holding the control button and just choosing one corner. So I'm actually scaling the image again. Once again, not perfect, but it begins to hide a lot more. I don't care if this is perfectly straight because it's part of the pattern, the non-specific pattern that is created in that area. So I'll just cover that up a little bit. So now I'm getting at least straighter across the whole entire area. Okay, close enough. I'm going to go ahead and hide my guides. Turn this off. And I'm going to go ahead and flatten this all out. Now I'm going to be able to use my offset. But before that, notice how this edge is off a little bit because I transformed it. So go ahead and make the selection and jump it up again to make sure it's pure 512. I'm going to get rid of that old one. It's not necessary. And yep, it's all clean now. So once I have this, it's clean, it works. I'm going to push this back down here. I'm going to call this reference, make a group. Kind of get it all out of my way. Duplicate this layer, and then offset it. 256 by 256. Okay, so you can see it. Some of the areas work well, some of the areas not so well. This is where it gets difficult because areas like this are going to break poorly. This works pretty well. This does not work. So you're going to have to basically decide what information you want to carry across. In this particular case, it's easier to carry the thin parts across to match this rather than have that big brick. So I'm going to do that. You have to really just choose your pattern, especially in cases like this, because you aren't going to get a perfect pattern. It is so random that you can't control everything. So I'm going to take this and take the idea of this and move it across over here. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so I only really need to cover up this part. So I'm going to actually take my eraser. I'm using all different strange eraser shapes right now because these are my painting brushes. Works perfectly fine. It doesn't really matter which brush you use, but if you were just wondering why my brushes look so strange. Let's go ahead and choose this one. Okay. Please close. Alright, so this can kind of butt in there. I'll erase a little bit of the bottom here because we don't really want that interfering. I'm going to take this and transform it just a little bit up so it looks like it's following the same pattern. Is it perfect? Once again, no, but it's beginning to look good. Let's turn on a mask, switch over to brush,